All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Shake and Bake from shakespub.net. And first of all, happy Friday to everybody. And thanks for joining in on the stream. We're going to start here in a couple of minutes, but I got a little bit of video footage playing for you in the background just to get you all excited about this Q&A with some gentlemen from Campfire Games who are making War of Rights, what looks to be an awesome Civil War game. And I'll kind of go over a couple things before we get started. Let me go ahead and turn down the audio on the video just a little bit there. All right, there we go. And that is, we do have some questions that were submitted, quite a bit, really good questions. And if you want, off to the left, I actually put a link to Dropbox. If you actually wanted to take a look at the questions and follow along, you could. That's totally your choice, obviously. And what we're going to do is we'll introduce the two folks that are going to join us from Campfire Games, and then we're going to go through the questions. And at the end, if we have time, we'll try to get some questions in from the chat as well. This is going to be an awesome Q&A. These guys are really, really gracious to give us their time to answer a lot of these questions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to let the video play in the background for a couple of minutes here till we get going, and then we'll dive into the questions and go from there. All right, are you guys, you back on TeamSpeak?
I certainly am. Yeah.
Okay. Let me catch my breath, actually. I must be getting old. I ran upstairs, and I'm winded. That's not a good sign. That's too much gaming is what that is. Okay, so first of all, let's do some introductions. On the left of the screen, we have Emil Alexander Hansen, the co-founder. Good morning, sir.
Hello. Good morning. Or good evening.
Yeah, wherever it's at. And then to my right, the gentleman that's staring at me on the screen, that looks like at any moment he could bayonet me. I don't know if I get the question wrong. Is Clark Morningstar, the Historical Adviser. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you're at. And so just for those that have just joined, basically what we're doing is a Q&A live stream. These two gentlemen were gracious enough from Campfire Games who are making War of Rights. to grant this interview. And what I wanted to do was really do an interview that involved the community. So we turned to the community for questions, and we have a set of questions that we're going to go through. But at the end, if there's time, we'll also take questions in the chat as well. Before we get going, gentlemen, do you have anything you want to say before we dive right away into the questions?
Not really.
Okay.
I think we're all right.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just looking at the chat right now, and just to remind people, there is about a 30. One person saying they can't hear you that well. They should be able to hear you. I've got you guys turned up. Let me check that real quick. Let me. Oh, that's why. Okay, let me turn that volume up just a little bit. Do you guys want to go and just kind of do a quick mic check again?
Yeah, is
Sure
this
can.
better?
Okay, that should be good. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to jump into the questions and give a shout out to the people who submitted these questions. And right off the get-go, I think they should be able to hear me. I turned it up now, so we should be fine. But the first question is from Tiger of Wind. Let's see. I'm just going to wait just a second to see if they can hear us because of the delay. Much better. Okay, good. Tiger of Wind says, okay, basically their question is, what inspired you to make the game War of Rights? And I think, especially I want to add in that question is, especially being a Danish studio, what inspired you guys to make War of Rights?
Well, I've always just had a huge interest in just muscle loaders and thought they were really cool and line battles and that sort of thing. I haven't really had a preference as to being at Napoleonic Wars or American Civil War, but the other co-founder, Trusty Jam, he had quite a bit of knowledge on the American Civil War, so it was sort of just a natural choice for us to go with that.
Okay, and you guys started, what, about 3 years ago on this?
Yeah, we started 3 years ago.
Okay. All right, so that was Tiger. The next question is from some awesome guy named Shake and Bake. I don't know who that could be. But this question is about the draw distance. So I've been watching the videos. I've been tracking your game a long time. And one of the things I noticed was the draw distance of the trees, the foliage, the grass, how thick it was. And basically the question is, are you going to be able to keep this level of detail and still keep the game optimized?
Well, what you've seen in the video so far is definitely in-game, and it is what the game will look like if you're playing the game at the highest settings. But new features always get added to the engine, of course, and things change, and we always try to make the graphics look as good as I can. And if you are running the game at lower settings, of course, it's not like all the vegetation will be removed. There'll still be a lot of vegetation. So we also do not want to remove too much so people can get an advantage by playing on a lower setting, for example.
Yeah, so if they turn down low settings and those bushes go away, they'll be able to see everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Close quarters combat. We were talking about this a little early before the stream started. One of my worries was, I'm probably going to be the worst reloader on the battlefield. I'm going to be, dropping powder and balls are going to, 50 cal rounds are going to be dropping on the ground, and my buddies are going to be screaming, come on, Shake, reload. And at the same moment, I got this guy charging with the bayonet, or we run into the river. I mean, I just picture these close quarter moments. Will there be melee? And if so, what is that going to look like?
There will definitely be melee combat, both with a bayonet and without a bayonet. But that's more or less all I can say at this point regarding melee combat.
Okay, I'm going to press you a little bit. Will I be able to butt stroke somebody with the butt of my weapon? You're not going to answer. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Medical. The other thing, I was just doing some research. It seems like medical played a big role in these battles. From the amputations and all of the stuff going on. Is there going to be any kind of medical role in this game? And if so, how will that function?
Shall I go ahead and take that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, I'd just like to say that it was because of what happened at Antietam and because of what the medical director of the Potomac, Mr. Dr. Letterman, saw that there was a humongous change in the way that field medicine was worked and how field hospitals worked, and what actually led to the modern military hospital functionality. So, while it would certainly be nice to include that in the game, we are wanting to focus players more on the soldierly side of things, and we feel that if we were to add people to the medical side, as in being doctors and stewards and things like that, that'll take away from the regular player base for the regular soldiers and privates and onwards and upwards. So we are going to shy away from actual medical roles for the moment.
Okay, so I'm not going to get the saw and be able to amputate legs on the battlefield.
No, but there will probably be some sort of bleed out system, and you can either put a bandage onto your arm or something like that.
Okay. That'll work for me. All right. Next up, we've got Rhett Vito. And before I even get into the questions of Rhett Vito, he is a friend on my Facebook page. And I think you guys know about Rhett Vito maybe. Really, really into the Civil War, the history of it. I even think into the reenactments and events that happened. And so I did give Rhett Vito more than the one or two questions, just because they're so excited about your game. They're just pumped about War of Rights. Have you guys ran into Rhett Vito yet?
Indeed, we have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the first question from Rhett Vito: will there be gore? If no, why not in War of Rights?
There will definitely be gore.
Would you expand on that? Like, are limbs coming off, blood? Are you able to talk more about like what that will look like?
Well, what we would like to achieve ourselves is indeed to see arms falling off and just the bodies being mutilated.
Right.
Yeah. A good actual foundation point is something that we've been considering is something similar to a basis like they have on the Left 4 Dead 2 several years ago, and more recently the second Killing Floor that came out. They have very good gore systems. Those would certainly be nice to be able to achieve if we can.
Okay, great. Second question from Rhett Vito. In War Rights, how will regiments be deployed in historical battle? How big will the battle be in number, and how long will the battle be? And they actually put hours, ? And minutes, ? So getting a sense of, are these 10-minute battles, 30-minute battles, and as far as regiments, how will they be deployed?
In historical battles, the deployment of the forces, it will totally depend on the map. We try to, with historical battles, to create the real battles as close as we can and set up the objectives so the players will move sort of the same way as they did back then. And we are hoping to get to something like about 200 players. We'll of course try and push it as far as we can.
Did you say 200 players, real players in the match?
Yeah, for historical battles.
That's the first I've heard of that. That's awesome. 200 in a match.
At the very least.
But it's still quite a,
Okay, I just so you know, I typed in the chat 200 with 4 exclamation points. Because that would be awesome, guys. That is unreal. Okay.
Well, just imagine how awesome over 10,000 would be.
That would be pretty epic, too. Why not? Okay, third question is, when being shot, slashed by a sword, impaled by a bayonet, depending on the area of being hit, would the character would the character go into a wounded stage of falling to the ground, grabbing the area that was shot, injured basically, screaming in pain, then slowly dying from the wound after a period of time? I mean, Rhett Vito wants some detail in that death. Man,
I'm not sure we'll achieve it totally precise, but it will indeed be like, if you get shot in the lower part of your torso, something specific will happen compared to if you're shot in the shoulder or something like that. So there will be animations depending on, the point
Awesome.
of impact.
Will there be things like, if I get shot in the right leg where my movement speed is slowed down, if I'm shot in the arm, will my aim be affected?
Yeah, that is also something we are considering,
Okay.
but it will probably be implemented in some sort of way.
Okay, great.
I'll also interject to say that in terms of, for instance, the 1861 Springfield, that fired a 58 caliber lead bullet, soft lead, and that thing is going at around 1,300 feet per second. Not exactly fast in comparison to more modern weapons, but even at that speed, it is something that is incredibly devastating to the human body. Let's say that it hit somewhere down on, like, look at your arm right now and picture everything from the elbow down to the hand. Let's say that it hit somewhere in the middle right there. It would do incredible damage. As soon as it impacted, being soft lead and superheated no less, it is going to flatten and then start to become absolute shrapnel. So the bone will be broken absolutely in hundreds of pieces. All the flesh will be mangled. All the vessels, the muscles, the tissue, all of that would be just absolutely destroyed. And during the Civil War, unfortunately, they didn't have much in the way of reconstructive surgery except for some starter stuff that was beginning to be experimented with in France. So certainly not something available on the to-go basis of a American battlefield.
I think you referred to that in the video that you guys put out as carnage. I think that's the words you use. Carnage.
Absolute carnage.
Carnage.
Yes.
I love that word, carnage. Okay, fourth question. This is basically, you're looking at other players on the battlefield. Are you going to see players' names above their head? Or will there be like a banner above their head, kind of like mount and blade, kind of showing what regiment they're in?
We will have banners above players' heads, but it will only be like at close range. So if some people are standing in the distance, you won't be able to tell who they are. So that also means that you can't really tell if they're your friend or your enemy. The only way to tell if somebody is your friend or your enemy is to look at the uniform and make a judge on that.
Okay.
And the names won't be visible at all times. There will be a button where you can sort of press that button, and all of the HUD elements will get displayed for an amount of time.
So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing already on the answers, a little more of a hardcore experience then, where you're not seeing names all the way across the map, that you're going to have to do some target identification based on kind of what that soldier that looks like as far as their dress. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. I love hearing that answer. Fifth question, will the terrain be destructible? And basically wants to know is like, trees, shrapnel, if it rips through a cornfield, are you going to see corn go down? What's that going to look like?
Destructible, sort of environment, that is not a planned feature at the moment, but you mentioned cornfields, and you will, when you walk through a cornfield, you will actually be able to touch the corn stalks and see them bend. So imagine if some people are moving towards you in the cornfield, the first thing you actually may see is actually a corn stalk starting to bend instead of the actual soldiers coming towards you.
Ah, okay. Nice. Okay, so that was it for Rhett Vito. We're on to Victor Smith. Will there be a demo version?
I'm pretty certain that there will be no demo except for possibly an open beta sometime long down the road.
Okay.
If you'll consider that as a demo.
Oh, sounds great. Saint Lou 87. Is cavalry and artillery going to be player accessible? If so, in what way will the experience of the game differ from each unit type? I also want to encourage people to donate to the development team. Thank you. And this, he says it looks fun. So basically about cavalry and artillery.
That is definitely also planned features.
Okay.
Especially for the historical game mode.
So people will be able to get on
And
cannons and... Hello?
Go ahead, Emil.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, alrighty then. I guess I'll go ahead and take it over then. In terms of cavalry and artillery, there are certainly very disparate types of play styles in comparison to the infantry. With the infantry, you're massed in humongous groups going against other masses of humongous groups. But with cavalry, that is where you have things where you're on horseback in massive groups, though they were still starting to develop a new style of cavalry that was different from previous eras, as they're realizing, well, this isn't going to pan out. They have really accurate weapons and bayonets, no less. What the heck are we going to do? So that's definitely going to be a very disparate play style. And as the war progressed, cavalry became more the very quick responders sort of thing, as well as reconnaissance for generals and things like that. And in terms of artillery, yet again, a very disparate play style. Instead of standing at maybe 50 yards away, you're on a gun over 1.5 miles away in the instance of the 3-inch ordnance rifles range, and you are having to work with math and working with, and at least historically speaking, working with all sorts of equations to be able to figure out, okay, this is the kind of trajectory I want to go with. I need how many seconds for the shell to have a fuse on it, and all sorts of things. And these are some of the things that, historically speaking, the gunners and the commanders of the pieces had to worry about. So there might be some exchange there. And with artillery, every piece is going to need at least 5 players to be effectively run, though there is perhaps room, yet again, historically speaking, for more, as they had at least 10 men on the guns, including some extras.
Okay, so that will be in game eventually?
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. All right. All right. Well, at least we got something on that. Okay. Next question is from Best Pancake Ever. I love the names that people come up with. Best Pancake Ever. The guns offered on Kickstarter, is this early unlock or exclusive to people who donated on Kickstarter?
The items you see on Kickstarter, they are only exclusive to the people who pledge on the Kickstarter campaign. So if there's any of them you want, go ahead and pledge.
Okay, so if you want those weapons, you need to pledge on Kickstarter. Okay. McQueen, question A. What if any previous project, okay, what if any previous projects have members of your team worked on?
We have a guy who's been working on Verdun, and there was another game. I don't really remember which one it was, but
okay. And then Clark, have you done this before as far as in the gaming world, as far as being a historical advisor?
Well, I've certainly been a very big fan, just as yourself, with various games. However, this is actually my very first project that I've had the pleasure of working with.
Awesome. And just let's hold right there, because one thing I think originally when I was looking at your team, I think you started out as a 2-person team. Are you able to share with us now about how big is the team now?
right now we are 17 people working on the project. And yeah, we started out as 2 people, and over time we gradually gained some interest from other developers, and the team slowly grew in size.
That's awesome.
And this is certainly an international work that we've been working with. We have people here in the U.S., in Denmark, in Britain, in Australia. We have quite a variety of people that have been helping with us.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think I actually kind of know some of those people, and they're pretty awesome. So, question B from McQueen. Could you provide some information on how the command system would work, specifically what the role of the general would be?
The general will only be available in historical battles, and he'll sort of be the one who has the overview over what's going on. So what he does translates down through the chain of command. So he can see where the regiments are, and he may be able to see where some of the enemies are. And is that information correct? Who knows? So he can give an order to some of the officers, and they have to follow the order or modify them based on what they feel is right. And yeah, the general, he will also be a real player on the map. He won't just sort of sit in a dark box in the sky or something.
Are you able to share, will the general actually be like out on the battlefield, or more of a rear location, like in a tent with a map? Or
he won't be on the front line. He will be sort of at Antietam, near Pry House, for example, or maybe a Dunker Church, or yeah.
Can you go behind enemy lines and take out their general?
I suppose so.
Because that's my first mission. No, I'm kidding. Okay, sorry.
But if you do that, there's of course a chance that you'll lose all of your points, and then it's GG.
Oh, okay, maybe I won't. But it sounded fun there for a moment. Okay, and McQueen shouts out, says, keep up the great work, guys. I love you guys, so it's nice to hear that. Tickle Me Tibbers. Question number 1. I assume you guys are aiming for proper line battle setups. How are you planning to push players in the direction of this play style? I read something about giving players additional buffs. Could you elaborate on these methods? And do you think it will be enough to hold players back from going out on their own, just like Shake just described, running back to get the general, the lone wolf attack?
First of all, if you are running around all by yourself when there's no name tags above you, you may actually, if you're too close to the enemy and too far away from your friends, you make a team kill or something like that because your teammates can't sort of identify you. And then, as you saw in the video, the Kickstarter video, the officer, he said the form a line, boys, and then there appeared this sort of line on the map. So it'll be fairly easy for people who don't know each other and aren't talking on TeamSpeak or anything to see this icon and then form a line at the appropriate place. And also, when I've played, for example, Napoleonic Wars, and I see a regiment forming an actual line, it's always fun to see, and a lot of other players usually join up, and it's pretty cool.
Awesome. I think, what about the additional buffs? Are there going to be kind of buffs where you get better at reloading or aiming, anything like that?
Yeah, there will be some buffs. We're not entirely sure which ones, but we will try to sort of give the players an incentive to stay as a group.
Okay, great.
And I also have to say, I do love the name as well. It keeps on reminding me of Tickle Me Tibbers.
I know. And when when you read these names, you have to really be careful because, they sound like, obviously, another name, so, but I just love the creativity of people with these names. I love it. Let's see. What's the next one? Voice in game. Is there going to be voice in game? And if so, will it just be local where you could yell to your comrades kind of in immediate vicinity?
It is a feature we'd like to do, but at the moment it isn't really planned. If we were to do it, it would definitely be like, 3D voice, so you can hear from which direction people are shouting, and you can shout at your enemies and that sort of stuff. But it isn't really a feature we are working at for quite a while.
Okay, so could be something maybe down the road, possibly.
Yeah.
How are you going to keep people coming back to this game is the next question, and keep an active player base. Let's see, ranking system unlocks, kind of like, as you play this, will it be standard loadouts and you always stay that way? Or will you be eventually able to unlock certain things and maybe become a grizzled veteran soldier on the battlefield that makes you stronger? Anything like that?
It is still something we're working on, but we do not really like, at least to this game, adding, you gain more XP, you increase in level, and you gain some buffs in some way. A little bit more like you will have a stats page where you can probably see some information about how you're doing. But mainly it'll be sort of a prestige sort of rank for you.
Right. I'm glad you guys said that. So we're not going to have a Call of Duty experience here where people unlock perks like a nuclear bomb or something. So that's that's good to hear. But you could, like, as far as have some stats and maybe are you going to have a ranking system where you actually could rank up the more you play?
Yeah, that is something we are going to do.
Okay, great.
But it's not like you are, when you buy the game, for example, you are private, so you have to play the game for 100 hours to play as a general in historical battle. It won't, at least in that extent, be like that.
Okay. I just thought of something here. I don't mean to throw a curveball at you. It's not in the thing here, but one thing about the general role, when you get in a match, do people vote on someone to become the general, or do you have an idea of how that's going to look?
We have multiple ideas to sort of make it fair if a general is behaving badly, but that's probably something we'll talk about at a later date.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Mancom 37 Says, as a fellow artilleryman, I have some questions here. Will you see the rare Whitworth cannon? And then it says, what types of ammo are planned to be used? And if we will be basically use a canister, be able to use this double canister, and I don't know what that is.
In terms of double canister, basically it was just putting one canister in and then putting another canister in which both canisters were basically just, depending on the style and the manufacturer, a bunch of sawdust packed into something like a tin can or aluminum can with a bunch of shrapnel pieces on the inside, whether that was mini balls or pieces of nails or what have you, into a not so much fun package for the receiving end.
Okay.
But to actually answer the question, the Whitworth was definitely at Antietam. So you will certainly have that. And while we might not be able to have that on the initial release of Playable Artillery, it is certainly something we hope to see towards the final release. And the second question was on that one? Once again?
Well, it was the Whitworth cannon.
Various types of rounds.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's certainly a very integral part of the artillery is to have various rounds to be able to choose. And as I was mentioning before, being able to choose perhaps the fuse length, so that if you were using shrapnel, which was basically an attempt to shoot or lob a round over the enemy troops, and as it was placed directly over the men, have it burst then right on top of them or right in front of them. It's a hopeful that we have.
Okay.
So nothing to be sure.
Great. Next up is Nope Nope. I think one nope wasn't enough, so they decided to go with Nope Nope. And this number one is how will artillery? Oh, we already well, I guess the question again about artillery. I think you've already kind of answered that. How many players for the historical battle modes? It sounds like. How about? I think you said something about 200. Initial release, are you shooting for that high, or are you thinking of a lower number and kind of working your way up?
When I say 200 for historical battles, it won't be the initial alpha. The initial alpha will just have the skirmish mode.
Just the skirmish. And so, how many players on the skirmish?
Around 32 players, but we'll try and push it as far as we can.
Okay, great. Next up is Ben La Jiu. Can you explain how commanding units work in the game? Will there be a campaign map to give orders on and potentially move units with? What do you player count? We already kind of talked about that. And then will there be NPCs to offset a smaller player count maps like Red Orchestra Tuda? So basically, 5 of you join, you want to play. Can you add bots into the game to kind of make it a larger battle?
But no, there won't be any bots in the game.
Okay, no bots. What about commanding the units? We talked a little bit about that line on the ground. I don't know if you want to expound on that a little more.
Well, one of the abilities the officer has is indeed the line, and he can also do other things like charge or fall back or, I don't know, all those different commands. And then he also has this sort of area around him, which, the other soldiers are supposed to follow if they want to gain their sort of group buff.
Okay. Let's see. I think that was it on that one. Siggy Brand. What if the Kickstarter goal isn't reached? Do you guys have a plan for it? I think there was some mention about that in the video that came out. I don't know if you guys are able to talk about that some more. If the goal's not reached, do you guys have a plan B?
Not really. We definitely hope that we succeed, but we have had people working for us for quite a while now, and I don't know, maybe if we don't reach the goal, they may look for something else, which wouldn't be very good at all. So
right. So, one thing, just so you guys know, I did put up on the video, the live stream, the Kickstarter page, and you can see right where it's at right now. If you've not gone by there, make sure you go check it out. Check the different backing levels and just take a look at that, because definitely that is the way to get this game out there. So if it looks promising to you, check that out. Let's keep going here. Bearcat Extraordinaire. What type of payment model will the game feature? What kind of progression can we expect to keep? Okay, we already had that. I'm not sure what the payment model means. Do you guys? I don't even know if I understand that question.
Well, you pay for the game once, and if you're a bagger above a certain tier, you will get the game. So it won't be like free to play or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think there were some of those questions that came about free to play. It's definitely not free to play. But if people back now, basically as the game is updated, they're going to get all versions of future updates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Kieran, will the reload get slightly faster? As we talked about this earlier, and I think I kind of asked this, but just to confirm this, as you play more and you're reloading this weapon, I've been playing it for a year now. Am I going to be faster at reloading than some guy that joined yesterday?
Unless we add some sort of new feature, you won't.
Okay.
I mean, imagine a trained regiment who always play together, 15 people or so, they would totally be able to own the server.
Right.
If they could reload like 5 seconds faster than all of the other players.
Right. Well, I think that.
Yeah,
and
but
I,
that being
yeah.
said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say it sounds like it's going to be a pretty even playing field as far as the battles. You're not going to have an overpowered unit. It sounds like and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like the better unit or team is going to be the one that coordinates with one another and just fights better with what they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And during the time, the average infantryman was taught to load and fire well-aimed shots at about 3 per minute, which translates to about 17 seconds, which is what we have currently in the game. And that's actually a very good time. That being said, if you have a different weapon, say the sharps or something like that, you can, of course, expect a better firing rate.
Okay. Next up is History Guy 101. This is about officers. How much power do they actually have? And I think, I don't know if this question means like if someone's not following my directions to line up or what they're supposed to do, can I send them somewhere for treason? I mean, what can you do if they don't follow your orders, if anything?
I don't think the officer can really do something to the privates. It'll probably be more like the other way around, but we're still looking into how to manage that in the best way. But you also asked, how much power do the officers actually have? And
and then the battles, death
one of
match.
the features is, of course, what?
Oh, and I was just saying the second part, just when you get a chance, the second part is, are these death match, is respawn. So if you die, is it one death and you wait till the match is over, or is there a respawn cooldown?
Let me just finish the first one first. And then, so I was just about to say that, one of the differences to the officers, of course, that he'll have a revolver compared to the other soldiers, but it won't be rifled, so it'll only work on very short ranges, of course. So, and the deathmatch respawn. It depends. We will have sort of a hardcore mode on the servers where people, if they want to, they can sort of disable respawning altogether. But as you saw in the video in the top, there were these numbers next to the Confederate flag and the United States flag, which were the tickets.
Okay.
So it will be ticket-based, and there will be other features to help players get into the fighting more quickly. So.
Awesome. Mixed comedy. Will this be just based off the American Civil War, or will there be at some point in the future a plan for different wars like the French Revolution? Anything on that?
Maybe in 5 years or something like that, but for the time being, we are focusing all of our attention on the American Civil War. Okay.
Sick Bast, I think it is. Will this eventually come to Steam, and will it be under the category of early access?
Yeah, it'll definitely come to Steam.
Okay, and start out as early access.
You should definitely check out our green lights as well.
Okay, so that you guys are right now doing green light as well on Steam, then.
Yeah, we are. And go ahead and check it out, of course.
Yep. Yeah. Again, if you guys are liking what you hear. And you're interested in this game, I mean, the best way to make this happen is, again, go to Steam, check out Greenlight. Also, the link below is to their Kickstarter. Check that out as well. So skip one cup of coffee and you can help bring this game to life. Leonardo, when can we test it out? So I guess this is more towards the Kickstarters at a certain backer level. Can you give a general idea of when folks may be able to get their hands on an alpha build?
If you play it at a certain tier, I don't really remember the name of it, but you can check it out, and then you'll be able to play it on Steam, but only if you pledge on Kickstarter within the next 6 months.
Next 6 months, awesome. I'm still working on my wife to get my allowance so I can I can contribute. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen though, for sure. Zenzuken. Game modes. They want to know more about the different game modes that are going to be available in the game. Just 2, right?
Most of it was... Yeah. For the moment, there'll only be historical and skirmish.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, I think we've pretty much said...
Just 2, right?
Most of it was... Yeah. For the moment, there'll only be historical and skirmish.
Yeah, I think that's it. Just to confirm the skirmish and historical battles. Let's see. They want historical. They can't be for the. Let's see here. The one part of the question is, and I think this is good. Is I know little about the Civil War, and I'm looking forward to learning stuff while playing this game. So, do you guys want to talk more about that? Is there going to be things in the game that's going to help educate the player? While they're playing, they're actually learning about the history of the Civil War, American Civil War.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and field that question there. Obviously, the entire game itself is a little bit of a lesson in itself as to what the Civil War was like and what it was like for the individual soldiers. And we certainly would love to help to educate people more that want to learn more about the Civil War. So that is also going to include, if we can get around to it, the ability to look up more history within the game. And with some plans, there might be a possibility of doing your own little work into learning about the Civil War, again, within the game, but we'll expound on that further as the Kickstarter goes along.
Okay, sounds good. Alexander, 1871. Will we see any sort of repeating rifles in the game, or will it be limited to muzzle loaders?
Fortunately, on this one, I must say that you are not going to be limited to just the muzzleloaders, because during the time of Antietam, 1862, you had all sorts of different carbines and repeating rifles available, whether it was the 1860 Spencer or the 1860 Henry, the forerunner to the modern Winchester weapons, or perhaps the 1855 Burnside carbine or 1859 Sharps carbine or rifle. There are all sorts of options that players are going to have, though it is going to be limited to the units that actually did wield those weapons.
Awesome. Just so you guys, we got a couple more left. I actually just typed in the chat to the folks that are watching the stream that if there's some that they think we haven't talked about that they'd like to ask on the chat, they can do that, and we'll try to squeeze some more in if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Great. Let's see here. Rainier Barfield. How do you plan to incorporate the regimental system into the game? I don't know if we talked specifically about that.
We are working on sort of what do you call it, a browser-based solution where you can create your regiment and manage it there, but that's something we'll get into more detail with further down the Kickstarter campaign.
Okay. Says here, they're kind of comparing it to Mount and Blade style here. That will mainly events for line battles with formed regiments, or will regimental teamwork be encouraged in public games as well? It sounds like they're trying to say there's like private matches that would be really traditional, formal, and others would be more pub matches. I don't know if that's what they're hinting at.
But yeah, there will be. You will, as a clan, be able to host your own server and log it, of course. But we do try to add as many tools to make it as easy as possible for new players to play in the fashion or fight in the fashion or in the same fashion as it did back then by using these the form line thing, for example.
And so just along that, just because when you just said that, are you guys going to have like a traditional server browser menu in the game then?
Yeah.
Great. So people will be able to host their own servers then.
Yeah.
That will be awesome. I love that. Disconnected gaming. When can we expect we talked about Cavalry and Artillery. They want a release date, but it sounds like that is not going to be available in the initial alpha. Is that correct?
Yeah, it will be further down the road.
Okay. Samuel Brown, this is about the speed of combat. I mean, I watched the video, and they basically want to know, is this going to be one of these fast-paced type shooters? I think again, I won't speak for you guys, but it seems like the obvious answer is no. But I don't know if you guys want to expound at all more about the pace of gameplay you're looking to achieve in this game, as far as movement speed and how that will look.
I think we're sort of on a quite wide spectrum. I would assume that melee combat could get quite hectic and fairly fast-paced. And then we have, of course, got the marching and the standing at a line and firing. So it'll be a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, good. So so basically you got a variety. There'll be some points that are fast, other parts are slower. So kind of get the full gamut of speed in there. Okay.
And I might also mention that from personal experience in my reenacting, both on the West Coast here as well as on the East Coast, that while it might seem slow to some people that aren't very familiar with it, it is still as much of an adrenaline rush as anything you might find on Call of Duty or Battlefield and such like that. You are still going to be experiencing that, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, kind of thing going on. And
do that again.
with the problems of,
And also just to clarify that, you will be able to, of course, pause your reload and go something else or attach a bayonet or something like that. You won't just be locked in the reload.
I think that was
very fortunately.
I think that was my favorite moment of the stream just now. But because I think just talking about that part right there, I think for me, my experience in shooters, that my most intense moments in shooters is not in more the Call of Duty experience. It's actually more in the games where it does take time to reload, whether it's a bolt rifle or something, and then the guy is like 20 feet from you, and he's also trying to reload his bolt rifle. To me, those are the most adrenaline-pumping moments. And I think your game that's why I'm so excited about your game, is I think it's going to have a lot of that where, you're going to be reloading, you're going to see another guy reloading, you're thinking, oh my God, who's going to be done reloading first? And then you bring your weapon up and you're so pumped, and you take your shot and you miss. I think that those moments are going to be epic in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Boomdog, I think this is the last question on the formal list here. Different classes, I think we talked there was going to be like an officer rank, but within the infantry ranks, will there be obvious visual, I guess, in-game differences of rank? I think you may have answered this earlier, but just to confirm that, any differences you'll see on the battlefield, or even character-wise, will you rank up, I guess, is the question.
You will probably rank up in some way, but again, it will just be sort of a prestige thing for you. Mm-hmm. It won't have any direct gameplay impact.
Okay.
But you also said something like different classes.
Yeah, different classes.
So you can, of course, when you join a regiment, there's the officer which you can play as. And depending on the regiment, some regiments will be sort of regular infantry, and then there will be regiments that are based off sharpshooters.
Okay.
Maybe others, I don't know. But
awesome. We do have questions coming up in the chat here. Let me. Do you guys mind taking a couple?
I'm perfectly fine.
Sure, great. One of the ones I saw fly through there was the weapons. And again, I think this is people nowadays in shooters a lot of them were used to this level of customization, whether, it's customizing your character. And I think I saw in your video where it shows characters, cosmetic items you can change out the look of your character. The question about weapons, can you like maybe add an emblem to your weapon of your unit, or scratch your name into it? So in general, the question is around customization. Anything you can share about that? Can you make your character look different, your weapon look different, anything?
I'm pretty sure the only thing you can attach to your weapon is your bayonet. But in regards to the characters, that will be based on your sort of your rank, prestige rank, as we talked about earlier. There may be some sort of cosmetic changes that will happen, but where your character looks will mostly depend on which regiment you're playing as. Okay.
Well, because in the video it shows like the characters and like all the different stuff is changing, backpacks and uniforms. And so those will just pretty much be standard based on what unit you're in at the time in that battle.
Of course, if you're playing as some regiment, not everyone will have a backpack, and there will be differences such as different hats and stuff like that. And we may add some sort of system where players can sort of set up their preferences as to which hat they would like to wear when they're playing as Confederates or something like that. But we'll see.
I know what. Just looking at the live stream right now, I know what I'd love to be able to do. Those Mr. Clark Morningstar, those chops you got on the side, those sideburns, man, those things are a work of art. And I'd love to be able to...
They were certainly very fun to have.
Yes, I love them. I'd love to be able to add that to my character in the game, but it sounds like I might not be able to do that. But that's okay.
The beards, you may also be able to customize or choose a beard.
Okay. Okay. I grew this beard just for the interview, just so you guys know. I wanted to kind of look like... Did they have beards back in those days, the soldiers? Or were they clean?
Absolutely. Beards were incredibly in fashion during the Victorian era and the 1860s in comparison to, like, say, the colonial era where it wasn't in fashion, and then it became out of fashion again afterwards. So this is definitely a period where mustaches and things like that were considered kind of a mark of manhood to be able to grow them.
Well, I like that, manhood. Okay, looking at the questions, we talked about health systems. I think you mentioned like where you could bandage yourself. Would you just be able to do that like at the location you're wounded? And because I think the question is, would you have to actually go to like a health crate somewhere or something and do that, or would you be carrying the bandages on you?
Most of the soldiers did carry a bandage, right, Clark? Of some sort.
Was that for me?
No, I was asking. Clark.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say again.
Most of the soldiers, did they carry some sort of bandage or some cloth they could use if they were wounded?
Oh, they certainly could. Yes, it wasn't often seen because, as I mentioned, there were stewards and there were field surgeons either attached to the regiments or part of the medical corps. But it's certainly a possibility.
So, if you are wounded, shot in your arm or something, you will have some type of cloth you can wrap around your arm or do something. But again, we'll see.
One question was boundaries. Like in the skirmish battles, will it be like an invisible wall that you bounce into, or a warning that says you're leaving the battlefield? Any thoughts about that you want to share?
We're still trying to sort of figure out a clever way, a realistic way to do that.
Okay. Will there be drums and musicians? We had was it music or like the bugle and the drums part of those battles?
Oh, absolutely. Musicians were an incredible and very important part of any regiment, especially considering that you are in the din of battle. You're possibly hearing your officer shouting the orders, but in the meantime, you're hearing the guns going off. You're hearing screams, and you're hearing all sorts of just the carnage, yet again, lovely word. And so you might not be able to hear your officer as he's trying to shout out the orders. But there were somewhere along the lines of, if I'm recalling right, as I have a wonderful memory, about 29 or 39 different drum beats and another 50 or so bugle calls that were specific to specific orders. So you would be able to hear those over the battlefield. But yet again, this might be the issue of we don't want to take away from our privates and actual fighting force, though this will be something we'll look into in the future.
Okay. One person asked about stamina system. You're running. If you want to share some thoughts about that, will there be a health or a health regen bar, a stamina bar? What's that going to look like?
There will be some type of system which will be integrated with a whole lot of things, such as if you're standing close to some of your teammates and they die, you will sort of get suppressed in some way. As well as if bullets are flying close to you, you'll also get the suppression effect. If you're standing close to your officer, he will sort of diminish this effect. There'll be a lot of sort of elements tied together to create that entire system, which will probably also affect your stamina as well.
Oh, that's so. Basically, when you just described it, I think of Verdun, where you get rewarded for being in the fighting area of your squad leader. Is that kind of what you're describing? If I'm close to my officer, and so basically,
it is definitely one of our inspirations.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I love how they do that, because one of the struggles in FPS games, obviously, is if it's one where there's command and control, and you're trying to get people you don't even know, some of them, to do things. Sometimes they just don't do it, obviously. So building something in your game that indirectly rewards people for kind of following the officer's direction, that whoever's in charge. I think that's an awesome idea. I'm glad you're doing that. I think people will like that. Looking at, I'm scanning real quick to see if I see any of a couple of people ask about fire. There were some questions about, can you make a fire? Is there going to be fire? Is there going to be dynamic fire? Are the fields going to be burning? I don't know if you guys want to share anything about that.
No.
Okay.
On both.
Okay. We're staying quiet about fire. Okay. No talk about no fire. And I'm just scanning real quick here. Are there skirmish units? I don't know if that's going to be different than what we've already talked about.
Well, skirmishing was actually part of what was taught to infantrymen, not just the standing in a line. There were specific ways that were taught for how to skirmish. For instance, with a regiment with 10 companies, one of the companies might be selected to be the skirmishing company, which would go out, and there'd be specific orders to split the men off into smaller and smaller groups until they were a single-man line at about 5 yards pace between each other. And they would be the skirmishing line in front of the main regiment before they actually got in contact with the main enemy, in which case they would then reform back into their main regimental line, yet again going into a larger and larger group as they went back.
Okay. There's another question, and I don't even know what this means, but you might, Clark. It says, question regarding the Cav response. Are baggage train raids planned or possible? What the heck is that?
Well, he's possibly referring to the baggage trains that often followed behind armies. For instance, Grant, I forget which part of the war this was in, but Grant had behind his army baggage train 1.5 miles long. And it had all sorts of items on it. For instance, each regiment had about 10 wagons for it each for a company, plus a few more wagons for the regiment itself. And it carried a lot of important things like the tentage. It carried a lot of the kitchen gear. It carried important papers and medical supplies and extra ammo, all sorts of things, which were very integral to the continuation of a regiment. Though I think I might actually punt this over to Emil and see what he thinks on that regard.
I don't think so. It's definitely not something we've talked about.
We're not going to have trains parked a mile away that we're going to attack them. I don't think it's no. I don't think.
Maybe in some future game mode, I don't know, but it's not really something we are doing at the moment.
Okay, I'm just doing one last scan. I think I've gotten most of them. A lot of them are kind of repeat questions. There was one again about players following orders. I think we already talked about that. You're going to have some system, not exactly, but somewhat similar, maybe like Verdun. Maybe you're being inspired by that. So if you guys look at the Verdun system of kind of staying near your squad leader, that might give you an idea of maybe what's to come in War of Rights. Is that correct, Emil?
Yeah.
Okay.
It probably won't be exactly the same, but some of the elements are definitely something we've been inspired from.
Right. This well, JM, who I do know, is there going to be animals in the game, horses or dogs?
Maybe we'll find out sometime soon.
Okay, good to keep some
it's kind
secrets.
of integral to cavalrymen to have a horse underneath them, but we got hungry. I'm sorry.
You never know. And there's more talk about the musicians. Can they, if there's going to be musicians, can they defend themselves? Or, I don't know if you guys can talk about that.
Got to worry about those drumsticks, man. They're vicious.
You sharpen those babies up, it could get ugly.
But yeah, well, just go on.
No. I think I've went through. I think we've gotten most of them. And I know you guys are super busy working on the game. You want to get this game out and working on the Kickstarter. I'm going to wrap it up, but before I do that, anything you guys, anything we may have missed, or things you want to share with the folks? I know people were really excited for this. I think you really got a strong community backing this, and really, really excited for it. So anything you guys want to say before I do my last spiel?
Maybe tell all of your friends about War of Rights and make sure they play it. It would really be a great help.
Indeed, and I'll just finish off by saying that thank you everybody who has already donated, and as Emil mentioned, please continue to make sure that you get the word out there and spread about War of Rights and what we're trying to do, and hopefully we can achieve an even better goal than we have even dreamed as of yet.
I'm even I just turned the music up on the video in the background just to add to the drama here as we wrap this up. You guys have a choice, and I don't work for these guys. This is the first time I've met them, and I want to first thank both of you. I want to thank Emil and Clark for their willingness to take the time to do this, to give me this opportunity. I really have enjoyed the conversation with you. But to the folks that are watching this, what can you do if you're excited about this game? Is just like they said, is get the word out, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media connections you got. Definitely check out their Kickstarter page. The links are below. Look at them as far as a Greenlight game on Steam. So it's more than just backing it. It's getting the word out. And that's how you can help these indie teams. You got a choice to make, where you spend your money. And, $60 on a AAA game, or sometimes finding jewels like this that you're willing to invest in. That's the decision you got to make. But if you're excited about it, do more than just back it. You got to spread the word, get it out there, share the videos, tweet it, whatever. And that would really help them. And the other thing I want to say to both Emil Alexander, co-founder, Clark Morningstar, Historical Advisor, I thank you, gentlemen, both, for being here. You guys were gracious in your time, and really appreciate your thorough answers. And I think the community is really grateful as well. Thank you both, gentlemen.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, folks, until next time, I'm going to go talk to the wife right now to get the green light to back this game today. And what's the most expensive package? Do you guys know?
Currently, the most expensive package is, if I'll actually bring it up here real quick, and you actually have it up as well, Shake.
I am. I'm bringing it up.
Expensive package.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now.
Going for £2,500 or $3,818 US, and that is the presidential tier, of which there is only one limited edition.
Okay, after this stream, you've inspired me so much. I'm calling her up.
I need to spend 4,000. Is that okay?
All I know is if I pledge
That's
it,
gonna go over well.
no, and if I pledge it that one, I better get a trip to Denmark or wherever you're at, and you're out in Oregon, aren't you, Clark?
Yes, indeed, I am.
Yep.
Southern Oregon for the win.
Yep. Man, because for that president package, that's a sweet deal. But I got that on the screen right now. There is the different, and one thing I would say, you guys are really generous about the different backing levels. I mean, I've seen Kickstarters before that have a couple. I mean, you guys really have a lot of options. And again, like I'm looking at the $15 one, and I think that gets you into the game. That's the first level that will get you into the game, which saves you money because it's going to be eventually $30, it looks like, when it comes out on Steam. You know, so for $15, you're going to get access to the game. You're going to support an indie team. You're going to support this awesome game. You know, if you go to Starbucks and buy 3 cappuccino, frappuccino, macchiatos, you're at about $20. So cut 3 coffees out and back this game. And then the levels go up. I think if you're going to get in the alpha, I know where I'm going to go in, and that's going to be, I think, at the 35 level will get you in the closed beta, right? 35.
Yes, sir. That
yes,
would be the sergeant tier.
Yes, I'm going in at I think I may have to skip the presidential one and go in at the sergeant because I definitely am going to be in the closed beta. And my question for you, gentlemen, before you go is, will I get to film that action, and will I get to share that on YouTube?
Yeah, you will definitely be able to film it and share it wherever you'd like.
Okay, I'm going to share it everywhere. So I'm going at the sergeant level. I hope some of you guys are at least going at the sergeant level so you can join me in the closed beta. It's going to be awesome. Do some live streaming, some YouTubing of it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I am going to be, I have to ask you again before you go, Clark, I want to at least find me a hat to wear in my live streams when I play this game. Should I go online and order one? Where's the best way to get some of the garb so I can kind of get into it when I'm playing this game?
Well, there's absolutely all sorts of people that you can go to for it, and some great ones, at least for a hat, as we've been continuing to plug just a little bit, is Dirty Billy's Hats, and you can find that. He's actually based in Gettysburg right now, and he does excellent millinery work all over and does a variety of periods, not just Civil War. And alternatively, there are things all the way down to even eBay in terms of places that you can go to find a really good hat, as well as other gear. But Fall Creek Sutlery, Mill Creek Sutlery, all sorts of places.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, everybody on the stream, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. I think it was. I love the answers. I like what I'm hearing about this game. It is kind of what I've been looking for to add to my gaming genre. And again, spread the word. Back the Kickstarter. And again, gentlemen, Emil Alexander, co-founder, Clark Morningstar, thank you both very much for doing this stream.
Have a great day, everybody.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.